I want to make some things abundantly clear today. First of all, I know that anxiety can be a hard topic to talk about. A lot of people do struggle with anxiety, and I'm personally one of those people who have struggled with anxiety for a long time. And I can say now that I couldn't have even imagined myself being at the place where I am now with my mental health and just my physical well-being through what I talk about here on this channel. And I've had some questions from people who are struggling with anxiety and how they can manifest and stay in the state of the wish fulfilled while feeling these intense feelings of anxiety, fear, doubt, wavering, and just feeling ultimately very disconnected from source and from self. I feel that it's important for me to always reiterate that you're never separate and that you're never alone. It can sometimes feel, especially if you're on either end of the spectrum where you're new to manifestation, you're still figuring things out, or you've been manifesting for a long time, but you feel like maybe you're stuck in a certain area or things aren't necessarily going the way that you'd hope they would. It can feel a little bit like you're alone in this, and now you have this responsibility and this burden of creating your reality, and all of that lies on your shoulders, and it can feel a little bit more like a burden than the freedom, which it can be seen as, and which I do truly think it is. It is our freedom of free will to choose our reality, to be conscious creators, and to be the deciders of the trajectory of our lives. But when you attach your feelings to your ability to create, or your feelings or anxiety to your power as a manifester, that's where you can start to build beliefs that there are conditions to you getting what you want. So if you're worried about feeling anxious, whether it's about your manifestation or about things that are going on in your life, or if you just feel like you're a person who is identifying with struggling with anxiety, first and foremost, I want you to separate the feelings of anxiety or your experience of anxiety from your ability to manifest. That's not a necessary condition. It's not when I don't have anxiety anymore, then I'll get what I want, or when I feel less anxious, I'll be able to receive, or when my mental health is better, I'll be able to receive, when I feel worthy, when I've fixed myself, when I've healed enough from whatever it is that's causing these feelings to come up, then I'll be able to have what I want. Ultimately, the only condition to you having what you want is for you to decide that you are, for you to assume the state of being in the consciousness of already being that thing. So let's say you're manifesting an SP. If you think about putting yourself in the state of consciousness of somebody who is in a healthy and committed relationship with somebody they love, somebody they trust, somebody that they're comfortable and secure with, there can exist a state of being where you are that person and you're still anxious, but they love and accept you and are willing to stand beside you and be with you while you work through whatever's going on with you, and are supportive and loving unconditionally towards you. And you are capable of manifesting anything. You can plug anything into that example. You want to manifest a car, you want to manifest a job. You can do those things as an anxious person. You can identify with being the person who has this thing but is still having an experience of anxiety. Now, would this be the most beneficial course of action? In my opinion, no. I'm always going to be rooting for you to be the most fulfilled version of yourself, the version of yourself that is in a state of well-being in all aspects, mentally, physically, emotionally. You should be taken care of, and that is an available option for you to choose, even if it feels hard, even if you haven't had an experience of that kind of unconditional love and being accepted and being seen as that whole and complete version of you, which you truly are. That version of you does exist and is within you and always has been. So again, there's not a level of worthiness or a level of now I'm healed enough, or now I feel good enough to have what I want, or now because I've trained myself to feel this way, or because I've suppressed this emotion, I can have the thing that I want. The goal is not to suppress the emotion. The goal is to get to the root of that, transmute it, and see yourself as the version of yourself who's no longer having that experience of anxiety. But while you're doing that, while you're shifting, no matter how long it takes, you can still be perpetuating the story that you are the version of yourself who is getting whatever you want, no matter what. You get to have your desires just because you do, just because you are. You're worthy just because you are, just because you exist, just because you're being. From that pure conscious awareness, you have the ability to decide. I am this person having my experience. No matter how I feel, I'm bigger than these feelings. I'm bigger than my fear. I'm bigger than this anxiety. You don't have to claim that anxiety as yours. You can have an experience of that reality, but as soon as you identify with the reality, it becomes you, because you are having an experience of reality, but you also are reality. So it's just reflecting to you what you are internally. So when you give yourself the internal signal that you are no longer the version of yourself who's available to be experiencing unnecessary anxiety, like constantly being in fight or flight mode when there's no present danger, then that is something that you have to mentally train yourself, retrain yourself to build those new neural pathways for your body to understand that now it's safe, now it's okay for you to be this way, it's okay for you to have what you want, it's okay for you to desire, it's okay for you to be still and rest and fulfillment. And in that, knowing that you are taken care of, things are taken care of, your world is taking care of you, and things are actually working to your benefit. But if you have not been perpetuating that story for so long, if you've been identifying with so long as I'm an anxious person, and maybe if you've heard stories of being a burden because of your anxiety, or being too much, or being too hard to handle, or being dramatic, or too expressive, or too emotional with your feelings, you might have built a story saying, because I am this way, because I'm too much, I'm not allowed to have this, or until I confine these parts of myself, until I rearrange myself to be a more palatable version of myself, then people will accept me, then I will be allowed to have my desires, then I can accept my good. This is not a necessary series of events. It's not if and then. It's not I get to have this because anything other than I am. It's not because you've been working on yourself or because you feel better, which are good things. You should work on yourself if you see yourself as needing work. You should be active in your own process of evolving. You should be advocating for your own highest levels of well-being. But in doing so, that means not beating yourself up for the past or the way you feel, or putting fear-based emotions on top of that anxiety and being afraid that your anxiety is creating for you, instead of you standing in your I am and saying, I'm bigger than these emotions. I get to put the meaning on this. I get to transmute this. I get to make this mean what I want it to mean. And I get to say that this emotion doesn't rule me. I am not my anxiety. I may have an experience of anxiety, but it's also something that I can choose, and I can choose to have a different experience at any point. So first step, accepting the truth that you don't have to be anxiety free to manifest. You don't have to have any certain feeling in order to manifest any specific desire. The feeling that you need to have is the conviction of knowing that you are the person having the experience. So that being said, you can manifest to be free of anxiety. I know in some sections of the world and the discourse about mental health and self-help and psychology that there is a story perpetuated that when people have mental illnesses or diseases, even in the medical field, that it's something that is going to be a lifelong thing. If you're addicted to something, you're a lifelong addict. If you're mentally ill, it's a lifelong ailment. You're always going to have to be on medicine. You're always going to have to do these treatments. You're always going to have to be in therapy. You're always going to have to be constantly working to maintain this version of yourself. And I understand that saying this might ruffle some people's feathers. And I actually had an experience with, not me personally, but just seeing something said that really made me angry. Just long story short, somebody invalidating somebody else's experience and saying, like, regardless of whether or not you think that this person is a good person or that they made good decisions in their lives or that they are whatever you see as normal, telling somebody that something did not help them and that they did not have this feeling or did not have this experience because of the way that they seem to you now, because of the way that they look to you now, is so hurtful and so invalidating. To say to somebody that because you've become this person now, because of the way that I'm perceiving you now, you could not have had this experience. And if you are a person who had that experience, you could never get better or be different or change your conception of yourself to see yourself as a version of yourself that is healed, whole, healthy, complete, always. I think that's ridiculous, and that's all I'm gonna say on that. It's ridiculous. You can see yourself as that person. You can identify as a person who is at peace, a person who is calm, a person whose nervous system is regulated. A lot of people will also say to do nervous system regulation work, and if that is your calling and you feel led to that, then you should absolutely do that. But these things get to be decided. They get to be declared. They get to be decreed. You get to say, I'm the version of myself who knows that I'm fine. I know that I'm safe. I know that I'm healthy. I know that I'm taken care of. I know that everything is in its right place, that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, and everything is working out in my favor. So I have absolutely nothing to fear because I am. I know that I'm the one who holds the reins to the conception of myself that I see. And this conception of myself is leading me and guiding me throughout my life. So if I choose mentally in imagination to see myself as a version of myself who is living without stress, who is living without fear, who is allowing myself to be fully expressive and fully embodied in the identity of myself that I see as ideal, then my life must reflect that. My 3D must reflect that. My body must reflect that. My senses must reflect that. So your body's not bigger than you. Your senses are not bigger than you. What you feel even is not bigger than you. Your emotions can create your reality if you give them that importance, if you give them that meaning, if you put the fear behind it and perpetuate a story that this feeling equals this outcome, that this condition equals this circumstance. You can choose to see yourself as a version of yourself that is healthy, that is whole, that is complete, and also leave space for yourself to be a human being. It's okay to have human emotions. That's why, the human body is so amazing. It has all these automatic processes to work for you. It's so smart. Your subconscious mind is so diligently working to keep you safe, to keep your worldview and your conception of yourself in alignment with what you're seeing. Your subconscious and your automatic processes are working so hard to cater your world to your own conception of yourself. So if there's a story that pops up that maybe you haven't identified before and it's bringing up a feeling in you, it's okay to leave space for yourself to be a human being, to feel a human emotion, and to look at the emotion not with fear, but with love and with acceptance and seeing it for what it is. And if your body is having a fear-based emotion, to be able to look at it and say, fear, I see you. And I might even see what this fear is based on and all the experiences that led me to having this experience right now. But I choose at this point to stop perpetuating the cycle, to see myself as a version of myself who will no longer stand in fear, but who will see myself as the altered conception of myself and who will step into the reality of embodying and fully knowing that I am safe, that I do get to decide, that this is my choice, that I'm no longer available for these emotions. I'm not available for them to create in my reality. I'm not available for more like thoughts to come along to validate this reality. I'm not available to identify with experiences of this reality. It's no longer for me because that's no longer who I am. So that conception of myself and everything that belongs to it in this 3D world must fall away. You starve it out. You see it for what it is. You acknowledge it and accept it so that you're not avoiding it while simultaneously focusing on it because you are trying to avoid it while actually looking at it and perpetuating a fear-based story around it. But instead of doing that, you just see it for what it is, acknowledge it, and cut it at the root. And you just say, you're no longer going to have power over me. This feeling doesn't have power over me anymore. And this story is no longer relevant to me. I know that even if I have this feeling, I know that even if that fear-based thought comes up, that I can see it for what it is. I can release it and let it go and say, that's not for me, but this is. That's not my choice, but this is. So you tell yourself that even if I'm feeling stuck now, even if I feel this emotion right now, even if I don't know where I'm going to go from here, I know that I am divinely led. I know that I am truly safe. I know that before there's even a problem, there's already a solution. And I know that I will find my way out of this. I just have to be still and know. I just have to be still and know. I just have to be still and know. And this emotion will pass and I will still be here. And these feelings will pass and I will still be here. And these thoughts will pass and I will still be here and I will still know who I am. Another way that you can transmute this energy is to call off balance forces. I've talked about balance forces a little bit, about when you're building up so much excess potential and so much importance and so much, this is a thing, this is really a thing, oh, this thing really means something, oh, things are going to happen because of this thing, and you're building it up to be a huge thing. Well, your reality says, okay, we need to release all of this energy. So it comes up in your body, and it's either you're going to have an emotional reaction, you're going to have a panic attack, you're going to spiral, you're going to cry, or something in your reality is going to have to happen to mitigate that response in order to either push it to happen or push it to go away, whatever spectrum of dominance you're on, or whatever is the path of least resistance for balance forces at that time. So if you're bold enough to look your fear in the face and to face that story that the fear is trying to tell you, then you can look at it and you can say, you know what? Yeah, maybe I am anxious right now. Maybe I am scared that I'm not actually going to get what I want. Maybe that is a possibility. You know what? I could see that possibility. I could see the possibility that I couldn't get what I want. That what I want is just not going to happen. Maybe it won't happen. And guess what? If it doesn't happen, I'm still going to be okay. I still am. I still get to choose and I still get to decide. And if I decide again, then there's still space for it to happen, or there's space for me to choose something else. But you know what? I'm still going to be I'm still gonna exist. The situation's still not bigger than me. So what? So what if it doesn't happen? So what if I don't get what I want? Oh well, I'll live. Or I won't. But it'll be fine because it will just be, just is. And when you give it that level of, I'm done dealing with this, I don't care anymore, I'm gonna go live my life, I have no more energy to put towards this. Yeah, maybe the worst will happen, maybe it will, and so what? When you give it the so what, like it's gonna be what it's gonna be, this is my choice, but you know what, even if that would happen, whatever, you release all that pent up energy of the fear of what's gonna happen, and what if this goes wrong, and what if this, and what if that, and did I do this thing right, and now, oh, what about this, and this circumstance popped up, and it's so much mental chaos and so much chaos within your body and your energetic system that it has to be released somehow. So like I said, it's either gonna be released through that outburst of negative emotion, or you're just gonna call off balance forces and say, yeah, you know what, maybe the worst will happen, and so what? But the thing about this is talked about a little bit in reality transurfing. When you do this thing, it's not a thing you do all the time. It's not like you're constantly validating, okay, yeah, this possibility is probably gonna happen. Yeah, it's probably just not gonna work out and I just have to accept that. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm not saying accept the possibility of non-fulfillment. What I'm saying is accept that the possibility of non-fulfillment exists, but that it is not your choice. Accept your choice and accept the right for the other reality to exist. It is not your choosing, but it's okay that it is. Because wherever that is, the version of you in non-fulfillment will also be. But internally, you're still gonna shift to the version of you in fulfillment, and so that reality will have to fade away. But when you release that excess potential, when you just let it go a little bit and just say, you know what, fuck it. I'm gonna be a little bit more hands off. I'm just gonna let it go where it needs to go and do what it needs to do. Then you open up the space to be like, but now I could feel into like, my choice feels really good. I really feel like sticking with my choice. I really feel like no matter what I feel or no matter what happened before, or no matter how things could go, I think things are gonna go the way that I want them to go. Actually, I'm gonna choose that things are going the way that I want them to go, and I'm going to assume that things are going the way that I want them to go, and so here I am, being the version of myself, knowing that things are exactly how I want them to be. So just making a little bit of space for yourself is what transmuting can help you do. So don't be afraid to look at that fear and say, hey, we're gonna kick you out one way or another. Don't be afraid to work with it a little bit instead of trying to shove it in the closet and pretend like it isn't there, because typically that's not the best course of action. I've learned from personal experience, at least. Being able to like boss yourself up and look at that anxiety and be like, you're not bigger than me, you're not badder than me, I know what the fuck is going on, I know who the fuck I am, this is what it is, this is my story, and that's gonna be it. And then just let the feeling be what the feeling is. It will eventually dissipate and it will become more natural for you to be in feeling states of more elevated emotions when you've accepted that new conception of yourself. But it does take for you to make that shift. So do that. It will be helpful. So understand that anxiety doesn't have anything to do with your ability to manifest. You get to manifest just because you do, no matter what your feeling state is, as long as you are maintaining the feeling state of the conviction of having what you want. And that too, anxiety is not forever. If you don't like feeling anxious, if you're tired of the experience that you're having in your reality right now, then see yourself as the version of yourself who is no longer having that experience, and it will be reflected in your reality. Persist in that. Promise. It will do you wonders. Has done so for me. Just saying. Okay, so now that we've covered the manifestation part of it, I want to talk a little bit about some of the practical things that I've done personally that have helped me a lot with dissipating feelings of anxiety and working through anxiety in the moment, and just long-term training my body to process the feelings of anxiety a lot easier, to transmute them a lot easier, and to figure out what the root desire is quickly, so that it's not a long drawn out process of like, oh, what's wrong with me? I need to do all this shadow work. I need to do all this healing. But it's more of just like recognizing that feeling, moving through the feeling, and coming to a new realization of who I am and embodying that better feeling state. So first thing, journal. Just like I said before, it's okay to look at the fear-based stories if they're continuing to come up, continuing to perpetuate themselves, and you are struggling and feeling like you're fighting with them, fighting to tell the new story, or feeling like you're having to ignore it, or that it's just like this looming thing over you. It might be time to just journal it out, to just see, okay, where's this fear coming from? Okay, it came from this childhood story. Sometimes for some people, this is the process that works for them, to just journal it out, to be able to have the time for your brain to be processing while you're writing, to slow down a little bit, think through it, feel through those emotions, allow them to exist there, and then be able to shift to what feels better, what feels more true, what feels more like the version of me that I want to identify with, and how can I shift this story? And then you say, thank you for keeping me safe. Thank you for protecting me in this time in my life where these feelings of anxiety were needed, where I needed my nervous system to be regulated in this way to keep me safe. But now I know that this is no longer my circumstance. Now I know that I've moved on to this version of myself, this version of my reality, and that this is no longer needed. This is the new story. So whenever those thoughts and feelings that I just journaled out come up, I already know that that's no longer relevant and that this is the story that I'm gonna tell instead. From that point on, it shouldn't be too much of a big deal. If you feel like there's something that needs to be revisited, or you're feeling something is reflecting to you in your 3D and needs to be addressed, then you can go back to it and address it. But I wouldn't go necessarily digging for things that aren't already present, that aren't already obvious. And even if you don't want to journal and you just are presently feeling the emotions, just again stopping and asking yourself, why do I feel anxious? Where is this feeling coming from? What am I afraid will happen? What's the worst thing that I think is going to happen? Why would getting what I want be a bad thing? Why is it not safe to have what I want? Why is it not safe to be the version of myself who I want to be? Ask yourself these questions so you can identify where your limiting beliefs are still sticking, and then you could just choose new beliefs. It's not something that like, okay, now I need to journal through this belief and work through every little thing that comes up. You're just going to choose the conception and version of yourself that is not bound by these limitations, okay? The state of consciousness comes with the belief systems, and as you practice affirming to yourself that you are this version, more thoughts, more feelings, and more elevated emotions will come along with that state of being in order to help you embody the naturalness of it. It will come with time, with repetition, with solidifying that story. Just go ahead and nip it in the bud so that it's not a thing that you have to keep revisiting over and over again. If you're finding yourself having to revisit it over and over again, like it's a sticking point when you're trying to manifest or do techniques or feel yourself into the version you're wanting to be, then it's probably time to just see it for what it is, deal with it so you can move on and just be done with it. Okay. Also, meditation. A lot of people don't like meditation anymore. I think it's because the law of attraction has scorned a lot of people. Trust me, I get it. I even took a little meditation hiatus because I found myself in a feeling of obligation that I had to meditate in order to get a certain result, in order to feel a certain way. And there was a point in my life where meditation was truly serving my highest good. Deep meditation, long meditation, all different types of meditation. But when I started to make it an obligation and a requirement, it started to not serve me as much because of the intention that I was doing it with. But there are all sorts of different kinds of meditation. I'd recommend, especially for anxiety, a mantra meditation where you're slowly repeating a phrase with feeling like I am safe, I am loved, I'm worthy, I'm valuable, it's okay to honor my emotions, whatever it is, something that solidifies that new state of being, something that you can focus on that will rise you, even if it's just to the next level above that thought that got you to the state of anxiety. So if you can find the next better feeling thought and make that your mantra and just sit in meditation and ponder on what it would feel like to be the person saying that statement and knowing it as truth, then meditation can be a very helpful tool for anxiety and for just slowing down. Again, none of these are obligations or things that you have to do. They're just tools that I found helpful on my own journey and that are easily available to you if you want to try them. Along with that, breath work, whether you want to do it with your meditation, whether you do it in yoga, whether you do it in the shower, I don't really care where, when, how you do it. Breathwork has been very helpful for me, specifically the Wim Hof method. But I mean, there are all different types of breathwork you can practice and you can try. There's so many videos that you can look up on YouTube to do breathwork, guided breathwork. Find one that works for you, one that's a good length of time for you. But really just focusing on ones with an extended exhale and slowing down your heart rate, regulating that nervous system, and just focusing on your breath rather than the anxiety that you're feeling. So when you're doing breath work and you're slowing your heart rate down, it's kind of like you're hijacking your nervous system and telling it, I understand that you have this automatic response and that you think we're in danger right now, but I'm giving you the command right now to calm down. Things are not actually as they seem to be, and it's actually okay for me to sit here and be at peace and be in silence and just breathe. Another thing that I found helpful, that I found kind of more recently is EFT tapping. It's emotional freedom technique, and it's pretty much just tapping like your different energetic centers. So you'll start right here and you'll be like, even though I'm feeling extremely anxious right now, I choose to fully love and accept myself. Even though I'm scared of the unknown, even though I don't know what may happen, I don't know how what I want will happen, it's okay. I accept and love myself completely. And even though I'm feeling very anxious, I know that in time this feeling will pass, and I know that I'm not wrong or bad for feeling these emotions, and I'm a human being, and it's okay. I accept myself fully, and I know that I'm all right, and I know that things are constantly getting better and better for me. And so I choose now to be the version of myself in the full knowing that things are always happening in my favor, that I can choose at any moment to have a different experience, and I choose right now to feel calm, to feel at peace, and to know that all is well. I truly and deeply feel and accept the knowing that all is well. So it's just like, that's just a little example. I'm obviously not like an EFT practitioner. I just learned from YouTube. I will link a great video that I follow in the description if you want to try it out. I've found it to be extremely helpful. Whether it's placebo or not, I don't really care as long as it works. So decide it works for you if you like doing it, and let it work, let it ride. I'll leave that for you down below. There's also like guided hypnosis, autosuggestion tracks, subliminals, doing sats, being in any relaxed state akin to sleep, where you are hearing suggestions of the person that you want to be, when you're hearing affirmations of, I am calm, I am at peace, I'm in a complete state of well-being, I feel blissful, I feel joyful. If you're in an energetic space where you are available to sit down and feel into those affirmations and allow yourself to be suggestible to those affirmations, but you're not necessarily feeling in a state enough where you can say them to yourself, and you just need a little bit of help, a little guidance, a little holding, which is so understandable, then again, YouTube, amazing resource. There are plenty of people who do guided hypnosis, affirmation tracks, meditations, all kinds of things that you can watch to help if you're feeling anxious, and to use as a technique to help you with your imaginal acts. Yeah, whatever you want to use it for, that tool is available for you. Another good thing I like to integrate is yoga in my day. I love when I'm in a good flow with yoga and I'm consistent with full-length sessions, because I do feel the difference in my state of being and just in how I carry myself and how I feel in my energy and just my overall well-being when I do it. It's just, again, personally been helpful for me. But even if I don't have time to do a full session and I'm feeling anxious, I found that just laying into child's pose, if you don't know, I can probably put a little nice image for you here on the screen, but I even just wake up in the morning, because every single morning without fail, immediately I just like rise up out of the bed and remind myself who I am. Like immediately I'm like, whoop, I'm conscious creator of my reality. I get to create everything. I get to have whatever I want. Oh my God, I'm a master manifester. Oh my God, everything's working out for me. Isn't this wonderful? Oh my God, my world takes such good care of me. I'm so freaking grateful. This day is gonna be so amazing. So excited. Okay, let's get it. That's me every single morning. It just happens automatically now. But this is not the way it used to be, believe it or not. This is kind of what I was talking about, a little bit of my gripe. I'm releasing it because it's not necessary for me to hold this emotion, but when people see people and perceive them a certain way, because I know I personally experienced it, because people have told me that initially they didn't want to listen to what I had to say because of the way I looked. They didn't think that I had anything valuable to say, because I guess it's either you get to be pretty or you get to be smart. There's no both. I don't know where people got that ludicrous assumption from, but living proof right here. Okay. Anyway, I used to be a person who woke up every single morning with crippling anxiety, feeling like an elephant was sitting on my chest, feeling like it was hard to breathe. And that's when I would start waking up in the morning. I would do that, still tell myself who I was, and then I'd immediately go into a Wim Hof method, but also waking up in the morning, and before that, just doing child's pose, just laying in my bed, getting my chest like deep. And I guess it's because it's kind of like, for me, it's kind of a pose of surrender. It's like I'm surrendering this emotion. I don't claim this emotion as mine. I'm allowing it to be released from my body now, and I'm just relaxing and releasing everything that is not me. Everything that is not me is released from my body at this time. I'm feeling into my body. I'm feeling into the energy that I want to embody, and I'm letting go of anything that is not truly me. So I feel a deep sense of surrender when I'm in that pose specifically for some reason. I don't know what it is, but it also feels very good. It's a good stretch and it wakes my body up. So not just in the morning, but throughout the day, whenever you have a moment, if you have a private space to yourself, deeply stretching and like pulling on that tension and allowing like yourself to feel through it has been helpful for me physically, feeling through it and talking yourself through that emotion and allowing yourself to actually release it. Along with that, giving yourself a hug. I feel like people don't hug themselves enough. Like, it's not, obviously, I'm just like sitting here hugging myself. I feel like I should do the whole thing hugging myself. I hug myself all the time. I kiss myself all the time too. I feel like people would think that's blasphemous. I don't know why you wouldn't. Like, I just think you should be insanely in love with yourself and just treat yourself like the little treasure you are, but that's beside the point. But genuinely, just if you don't have another human being with you to hug, or if you don't like to hug other people, some people don't like to hug. I love to hug, but just giving yourself a hug and just telling yourself that like, I'm not alone. I'm here for me. And I am everything that I see. Everything that I see is me, so I can never be alone. I can never be lost. I can never be without guidance. And I'm here for me. I'm still showing up for myself. I'm still recognizing myself as who I am. I'm not lost. I'm not stuck. This feeling is not forever. And I'm allowing myself to say, it's okay that I feel this way right now, but I'm choosing a different feeling now. I'm choosing a different conception of myself. I'm choosing to see myself differently. I'm choosing to see this experience differently. I'm choosing to give it a new meaning. I'm choosing to love myself through it all. You just give yourself a squeeze, give yourself a kiss. So I'll either give myself an actual hug, or if you're in public, or maybe if you just need a subtle hug, which is actually sometimes more potent, I'll just like press on my heart and give myself like a little heart hug and do the same thing. Tell yourself, even though you feel anxious, even though the same things is like with the EFT, it's okay to acknowledge this emotion. Like, please don't fear the fear. Like, that's the worst thing you could do. Look it in the face and say like, I see you. I understand that you're trying to keep me safe. I understand this feeling. I understand that my body is doing crazy things right now, but I'm telling you that it's unnecessary. I know that I'm safe. I know that I'm loved. I know that I'm no longer the person who was in the situation that brought up these emotions. And I choose not to recreate those circumstances by feeling into this emotion now and calling it mine and identifying with it. So it's allowed to be released now. You're allowed to go. You're free to go. Your job is done. Thank you. I'm letting you go. Bye. Simple. I love that. So wrapping it up, because so long, always. Cold showers or cold plunge. At first, I absolutely hated it. I hate to be cold. That is number one thing about me. I'm always cold and I hate to be cold. So when I heard that taking a cold shower can spike your dopamine and elevate your mood, I was like, what do you mean? They're like, first thing in the morning, cold shower. I was like, no. But like I said, once I started doing Wim Hof, learned about Wim Hof, Andrew Huberman, everybody's like, cold therapy, cold therapy, cold therapy, cold therapy. So I'm like, okay, I'll try it. And the biggest thing that I did that I think was so helpful to me is, now I've set the precedent that obviously things don't have to be hard, but when things feel hard, I know that I'm capable of doing hard things. So every morning I would get, and now I will be honest, I'm not consistent about taking a cold shower every single morning. I do when I feel like I need to, but geez. And it's not your entire shower that needs to be cold. You can take a regular shower and then do like 30 to 60 to 120 seconds in the cold at the end of your shower. But before I would turn the shower to cold, and then before I'd step into it, I just tell myself, I can do hard things. I can do hard things. And then I'd get in the shower and then I'd validate that I could do hard things. So it's kind of the same thing of like, when you're feeling hard emotions, when you feel like you're going through hard circumstances, when you feel like things aren't necessarily easy, you can still choose to make them easy. You can still choose that you're capable. You can choose to still see the understanding in it, to still be led, to still be guided, and to still know that you are completely, wholly, and totally capable of doing whatever the fuck you want to do, okay? Cold showers. And last but not least, talk to someone, obviously. If you need to speak to a therapist, please do so. If you need to speak to a loved one or a friend, or you need to call a helpline or do whatever you need to do, please take care of yourself and your mental health. Manifestation is real, manifestation is true, manifestation is life. We love manifestation over here. If it is to the point where you fear for your own well-being, or, you know, your thoughts are not kind to yourself to the point where it's not safe, then please seek help. Please talk to someone. Please don't suffer quietly. There is help for you. You can still do any and or all of the things that I've mentioned above, whatever floats your boat, as a supplementation to speaking to someone. If you need to do that, please allow yourself to do so. Don't think that you are weak, or don't think that it means you're a bad manifester if you go to therapy or if you go see a doctor or a psychologist. I don't believe that those things necessarily have to be bad if they're serving you, if they are keeping you here, if they're keeping you in the highest state of well-being that you can reach at this moment. Do I believe that there are different options and different things work for different people and that there's not one size fits all to this? Abso-fucking-lutely. I do believe that to the core of my being. So I believe that you must do what is best for you. You must use your own discernment. It's okay to take advice. It's okay to agree with what I'm saying or disagree with what I'm saying, but you must listen to yourself, listen to your body, and please be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself, and have grace with yourself, okay? This is a human experience we're having. It's a little bit turbulent sometimes, it's a little bit chaotic, but that contrast is needed. It's necessary, and even when it feels not so great, maintain the awareness that it can be great and that you can choose for it to be great at any moment, at any time, no matter how you feel, no matter what you're seeing, no matter what you're experiencing, okay? Know that you are enough. You're bigger than those scary thoughts or feelings or circumstances. You are free from that story as soon as you decide you are. All right, you guys, that's gonna do it for me today. I really hope you guys enjoyed and got something of value from this video. Please be sure to leave your questions, comments, concerns in the comment box below, and check out the description for my social media links, services, all that good stuff is down below. And other than that, I love you all so much. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye.